All right, baseball fans, get ready to dive into the Roy Hobbs World Series scores from October 27th.
It was a day full of amazing applause, unforgettable moments.
We're going to bring you all the highlights and, yeah, maybe even relive a few of those moments together.
But first things first, you got to make sure you're fueled up for this baseball marathon.
You're talking about Johnny's legendary burgers and hot dogs down at PDC, right?
Absolutely. PDC is the heart of the Roy Hobbs World Series.
And Johnny's Grill is the heart of PDC.
You know it. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on those juicy burgers and perfectly grilled hot dogs.
The ultimate pregame fuel or postgame, if you're...
Or both.
Yeah, or both.
And don't forget to swing by the team shop while you're there.
Yeah, grab some souvenirs.
Commemorate all the incredible action you're about to relive.
Okay, let's get into it.
The Minnesota Bandits took down the Cleveland Cobras not once,
But twice.
yeah, with identical 4-1 victories.
Talk about consistency.
They certainly know how to shut down the competition.
But the Swamp Donkeys took it to another level, crushing Bellacino's Red Sox 14-1.
Now that's a blowout.
Pat Judge was a one-man wrecking crew for the Swamp Donkeys.
What performance.
He went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs, 2 runs, and a double.
It's almost unfair to the other team when a player gets that hot. And speaking of hot streaks, the Chicago Woodpeckers hammered the Washington All-Stars 24-2 final score.
Wow.
Jeff Massaro led the charge, going a perfect 5 for 5 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 4 runs scored.
Now that's what I call an offensive explosion.
You can practically hear the bats cracking from here.
And for those who appreciate a good pitcher's duel, Chad Arnold of the Limeport Milkmen led his team to a 10-2 victory against the Dundalk Nationals.
He pitched a complete game, racking up 8 strikeouts while only giving up 2 walks.
A complete game is a testament to a pitcher's stamina and control.
And Chad Arnold definitely had both working for him that day. But hold on to your hats, folks, because Cesar Curiel of Cangrejeras RD took the home run crown-smashing not 1, not 2,
But 3.
but 3 homers in their 23-5 win over the NW Indiana Dogs.
3 home runs. Talk about a power surge.
Absolutely, but even with all that offensive firepower, sometimes it comes down to one clutch play.
You're telling me.
Dan Beaty delivered that play for the T-Town Jackos, hitting a walk-off single in the 10th inning to seal a 4-3 win over the Nova Scotia Privateers.
Those walk-off wins are always hard stopping.
The tension, the drama, the sudden burst of celebration.
It's what makes baseball so captivating.
And speaking of captivating, have you been to Johnny's Grill yet?
You're right. After all this excitement, you're going to need to refuel with a delicious burger or a hot dog.
And maybe pick up a new hat or jersey at the team shop while you're there?
Great idea. Now back to the diamond work. The Lehigh Valley Rail Riders put on an absolute clinic, shutting out the Minnesota Catfish with an unbelievable final score of 28-0.
28-0, that's just unheard of.
Talk about a dominant performance.
The Rail Riders were firing on all cylinders that day, and the Catfish just couldn't keep up.
If you're looking for a place to soak in all that baseball energy, PDC is where it's at.
Seriously, folks, if you haven't been to PDC yet, you're missing out on a huge part of the Roy Hobbs World Series experience.
Those burgers and hot dogs are calling your name.
Okay, now that we've fueled up, let's keep this baseball train rolling. The Minnesota Diamonds sparkled in their matchup, cruising to a 12-2 victory over the Orlando Braves.
And the Lansing A's were a force to be reckoned with, defeating the Vogt-Grips Blue Jays 14-3.
Those A's were swinging for the fences.
But the NY Astros were equally impressive, shutting down the Tidewater Drillers with a commanding 8-1 win.
It's great to see teams firing on all cylinders like that. And speaking of fire, the Cincinnati Colt .45s were smoldering hot, blasting past the Florida Lumberjacks with a 14-3 win.
Rick Anderson was the standout performer for the Colt .45s, racking up 4 RBIs in a 2-for-3 performance. He was a hitting machine.
It sounds like October 27th was a day for the record books.
So many incredible performances, so many unforgettable moments.
And we're just getting started.
But before we dive into even more thrilling game recaps, I think a quick reminder about those delicious burgers and hot dogs down at PDC is in order.
You know it. Johnny's Grill is the perfect spot to refuel and recharge before we tackle the rest of this incredible day of baseball. Stay tuned, folks.
We'll be right back with more action from the Roy Hobbs World Series.
All right, let's jump back into the action. We left off with some incredible offensive performances, and the hits just kept on coming.
The Chicago North Redhawks battled their way to a 5-2 victory over the Kent Mudtons.
It was a close one.
It was a tight game, but the Redhawks managed to pull ahead in those later innings.
Yeah, those nail-biters are always fun to watch.
Speaking of close games, the Huntsville Havoc and the Flint Tigers
Oh, man.
treated fans to a wild one.
16-15 final score, the Havoc pulled out the victory.
That's something else.
It must have been an absolute slugfest.
Meanwhile, the Twin Peaks Lumberjacks continued their winning ways, edging out the South Bend Cardinals with an 11-10 win.
Those Lumberjacks just find a way to win, don't they?
They do. But the NY Astros weren't about to let anyone steal their thunder. They dominated the Twin Peaks Lumberjacks in a rematch this time, with a commanding 20-2 victory.
Oh.
The Astros were definitely flexing their muscles in that one.
And the Chicago Colts joined the offensive party, crushing the South Bend Cardinals in a 16-4 rout.
It seems like everyone was swinging for the fences on October 27th.
But, you know, sometimes a well-executed game plan and solid defense can be just as exciting as a home run derby.
You're absolutely right. The Orlando Brewers proved that point, holding off the Pittsburgh Hitmen for a 5-3 victory.
It was a tight game.
But the Brewers' pitching staff managed to keep those Hitmen's bats in check.
Pitching wins championships, as they say.
And the South Shore Giants put on a defensive clinic, shutting down the Nova Scotia Privateers with a 13-3 win.
The Giants were a force to be reckoned with.
And speaking of forces to be reckoned with, the Minnesota Bandits continued their winning streak, adding another victory to their tally with a 24-5 blowout against the Baltimore Thunder.
The Bandits were on a roll.
Hitting, pitching, and fielding like champions.
Speaking of champions, let's take a break from all this action and talk about the real MVP of the Roy Hobbs World Series.
You're talking about Johnny down at PDC, right?
You already know. After a long day at the ballpark, there's nothing better than a juicy burger.
Or perfectly grilled hot dog.
From Johnny's Grill.
And don't forget those incredible souvenirs at the team shop.
You can grab a hat, a jersey, or anything else you need to show your Roy Hobbs World Series pride.
Okay, now that we've refueled, let's get back to the games. The DuPage Indians outlasted the Sullivan-Haka Dragons in a back-and-forth battle, eventually securing a 7-5 victory.
Every win counts in a tournament like this.
And the South Shore Giants kept their momentum going, taking down the Nova Scotia Privateers, once again this time with a 13-3 win.
Looks like the Giants had the Privateers number.
And the Minnesota Bandits just kept rolling, adding another win to their impressive streak with a 24-5 victory over the Baltimore Thunder.
Oh, Bandits, I tell you.
They were unstoppable. And the Staten Island Bombers lived up to their name, bombing the Baltimore Crushers with an 8-4 win. Those Bombers certainly know how to pack a punch.
And the Cincinnati Colt .45s were back in action, putting on an offensive show as they outslugged the Minnesota Catfish in a 27-13 slugfest.
Those high-scoring games are always exciting.
You never know what's going to happen next.
And speaking of exciting, the Cleveland Cobras showed their resilience, pulling out an 18-15 victory against the Huntsville Havoc in another wild one.
It was a back-and-forth battle.
But the Cobras found a way to come out on top.
And the Clearwater Rays edged out Atlanta baseball in a nail-biter, securing an 8-7 victory in a game that went down to the wire.
Those close games are always heart-stopping. But even with all this excitement, we need to make sure we're properly fueled for the rest of the recap.
You're right. It's time for another reminder about those incredible burgers and hot dogs down at PDC.
Johnny's Grill is calling. And don't forget about that amazing team shop while you're there.
Stay tuned, folks. We've got even more thrilling game recaps coming your way.
We're in the home stretch now. Let's finish strong with those final games from this incredible day of Roy Hobbs World Series action.
It was a day for sure filled with upsets.
Close calls.
And some truly dominant performances. The Twin Peaks Lumberjacks kept their momentum going,
adding another victory to their tally with an 11-10 win over the South Bend Cardinals.
Those Lumberjacks are tough.
They just find a way to win, don't they?
They do. They never give up.
That makes them a dangerous team in any tournament.
But the Chicago Colts showed they're more than just an offensive powerhouse. They shut out the South Bend Cardinals 16-4.
Proving that they can win with pitching and defense as well.
Balance is key in baseball, that's for sure.
And the Kent Muddins showed they have it all cruising to a 15-5 victory over Dundalk Nationals.
The Mudhuns were firing on all cylinders that day.
And the Chicago Knights found their stride, dominating the Baltimore Thunder 13-2, and then shutting down the Flint Tigers 3-1 in back-to-back wins.
Those are some impressive wins.
Those Knights are definitely a team to watch out for as the tournament progresses. They're playing with confidence and determination.
And that can take you a long way in this game. You know what else can take you a long way?
What's that?
One of Johnny's burgers.
Oh, man.
Before the day is over.
You and me both. Those burgers and hot dogs are legendary. And while we're at PDC, we can't forget to check out the team shop for some souvenirs.
It's the perfect way to remember this incredible tournament.
Okay, back to the diamond for our final few games. Team Michigan picked up a solid 4-2 win over the Dallas Redbirds.
Every win is a big win in the Roy Hobbs World Series.
And the Tidewater Drillers bounced back from their earlier loss, shutting out the Mid-Penn Phillies 6-1.
It's always great to see a team learn from their mistakes and come back stronger.
Resilience is so important in baseball, and the Drillers definitely showed they have it. But the real story of the day has to be the Lehigh Valley Rail Riders doubleheader against the Minnesota Catfish.
Oh, yeah, that was something else.
In the first game, they absolutely demolished the Catfish, winning by an incredible score of 28-0.
28-0. I've never seen anything like it. The Rail Riders were unstoppable.
It was a clinic.
And they didn't let up in the second game either, shutting out the Catfish again with a final score of 25-0.
Talk about a statement. The Rail Riders sent a message to the entire tournament that they are a force to be reckoned with. What a day of baseball.
Incredible hitting, dominant pitching, some truly unforgettable moments.
And we shared it all with you right here on The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed this whirlwind tour of the Roy Hobbs World Series, scores from October 27th. Until next time, keep swinging for the fences.